One, two, one, two, one, two. Let's see if we got any audio today. Or video. Let's see if it's working at all. It looks like it's coming. Yeah, about a 10-second delay. That's good to know. It's good to know. The YouTube's is hooked up and running, which is all right with me. Yeah. All right. Well, now that we know that that's running, and look at that, CouchBot's fired. Let's get this out of the gate, because I've got a few things that we need to do in a relatively compact period of time. I've got Abby coming up at the top of the hour. So let's get going. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, new Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. So good to have you along again. Abby, and welcome back, Katie. Been wondering, but we have a Katie sighting this morning. We've got Abby and Katie in here. Tonight, we've got office hours, after hours. That kicks off at 7 p.m. Chicago time. It's probably like midnight. It's beer o'clock in London if you want to join. But we'll be going through and doing whiteboarding exercises together, talking about strategies to really break down and own the really chaotic hour that is the whiteboarding interview. So join us tonight for that. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get into it with the work that has been turned in today. All right, so right away, we're going to start here with Katie. Katie's been trugging along here, and she turned in her user testing. Although these notes, Katie, I can't access. I'm just gonna have to go with your overall impressions. I did request access to them. I'd like to read through them, see what you got. So you got really good feedback on the site. Your menu page needs some work. I know what I need to change, but I'm not sure. I know how I want to change it, but I'm not sure if I need to or if I should just state that in the case study. So the case study obviously is a great opportunity to display what you've learned in this project, so that other people, when they come and they kind of look at where you're at in your design journey, they can get a sense of what you bring to the table. So the case study is great for that. But if you know of a way that you can improve your project, I'd go ahead and make that, because it gives you another opportunity before after moment where you go, yeah, I went this direction, and for whatever reason I liked it, didn't like it. The users were confused, which is always a better reason than I didn't like it. The users were confused. For instance, Eve did this. So Eve had something on her checkout flow, and users were blowing right past it, and it was as if they didn't see it. So she had to insert friction so that users would stop and go, oh yeah, and make a decision. Sometimes you have to actually insert friction into the flow, because if it's too smooth, they miss the whole point. So so you might be in a situation like that, and if that's the case, that's fine. I would take the time to go through and make that adjustment, but that should not stop you from working on your case study and getting this into some sort of portfolio platform. So you're really at that point, okay? So I would go through and make those changes. I would also add that little bit to the case study. And when we're over here on the case study, I do love the fact that you've kind of already started writing this out, and you've gone through and you've begun pulling images together as we go through a little bit further down here. The big thing, and I'm going to go through and read through and give you specific notes on this. The big part that I'm going to be focusing on is the what I learned. I want to see how you're framing that. And this is a great spot to include some images that go along with, yeah, I stubbed my toe here, and this is how I got over that issue. I can tell you firsthand, after Eve was getting some feedback on her portfolio. She was recently doing this project, which is the reason I bring it up. And people were saying that I want to see more of your work quicker. And because all of your work is really buried down here in the summary or the play-by-play, the step-by-step of your process, you don't have enough up here that you're showing. So my suggestion is to find a spot, and I'll make some suggestions when I read through this, but I would like to find the spot through here that really captures and shows more of your work, so that they're not having to go all the way down to your process discussion to see the work that you produced. Okay, there's got to be something in here that's going to elevate and show people the growth that you had beyond just this homepage, which the homepage is fine and whatnot, but I want to see more. But I will come back and read that, because watching me read somebody's case study is kind of boring for most people. But definitely, I'll be giving you line by line feedback on that. The next one up here is that was Katie, and oh yes, Abby. So Abby, oddly enough, on the other side of Fresh Market, getting started with Fresh Market, she went to so she's doing observational research here. Oddly enough, she did observational research on the last decent day. And I like the fact that we have some of the details related to what was going on. And this is definitely pandemic-based research. When Katie was starting hers, it was very early in the pandemic, so you can imagine with all of those lockdowns. But here, outside 68 degrees, medium busy, store was busy. Throughout store more busy than I would like during a pandemic. Checkout area was good pace, but so not too many crowded. No data connection. Cell service okay though. 17 people at checkout, line starting to form as I was about to leave. Since people have space to go into the aisles, half lanes open during week mid-morning. And then you go into details about each individual person. The problem I have, honestly, here is there is no, this would be great if we had just a spreadsheet that said how many people, mask or no mask, socially distanced or not, yes, no, and then activity. Because right now it's very hard for me to go through and say, okay, so were these people wearing a mask or not? Like this one here, man 50's prescription bottle of wine. That's a party. Meet, self-checkout, looks in a hurry. Great. Was he in a mask? Did he socially distance? I don't know. Girl, my age, basket of groceries, lunch items, annoyed by slow people and self-checkout messing up machines. Again, I don't know if she was in a mask or not, socially distancing or not. I don't know. Same thing here. Cautious about how close people are to her. That's important. Older. That fits into the dynamic. Was she wearing a mask? I'm going to guess yes, but we haven't identified that. You did identify, man barely was wearing a mask. Kid distracted on phone, waiting in line, half cart, mask falling down. So it's interesting. The areas where you mention a mask, it's like the mask is coming off. Should I assume everybody had a mask on? And like you're calling, like that's the part of the detail that I'm missing. And I say this for you when you look back at this data. I'm not really worried about showing this data to somebody else. I want you to have clear data so that you know what's going on as you're thinking about how people are, what their activity is. Although what I will say is that this project hinges less than something like active weekends or the schools, because you're making something that basically gets around a lot of this. So, yes, I do want to know about socially distancing. I do want to know about masks. But you could just as easily have a segment for cart, empty, full, no cart. You could just as easily have something for that, where you are you're basically breaking down. And basically, I just want to have this on a more, slightly more visual manner in a spreadsheet so that we can quickly go through and see what the trends are. That said, it's a lot of good information, and it does tell us a bit more about how people shop. Even though it's a pandemic, people are still going to the grocery store. How are they buying big boatloads of groceries? Are they buying like individual meals? I would guess that most people are buying big boatloads of groceries because they don't want to go to the store as often. So something to think about. And then I wanted to take a look at your, if I could find Figma. Where did Figma go? Hey, Figma. Your prototype. I giggled when I first saw this because I was like, well, what's happening with all of these screens? Okay? All of these screens are, it's interesting what happens because I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit refresh. And essentially what Abby's done is she's gone through and automated the word chickens. Like, everybody pay attention up here in the corner. I'll hit this and it will say chicken. She's gone through and step by step automated the search for the word chicken. The problem here with the prototype as it stands is you've done, like, this is a really clever thing that you've done, but if you're going to put this into like a portfolio of, hey, here's prototypes that I've built, you're going to want this portion to be complete and not in this like really gray zone. You're going to want to pull in content and images, and like I like everything that I'm seeing. I really enjoy the fact that you've got breadcrumbs here, and you've got it's really well organized. You're doing a good job of leveraging the tools that are provided for you in this project. This is the Leaf project. You're using a lot of existing components. You've gone through, and so when we click this, we get to chicken. Okay, so we got 3 results. We need these to be finished as well. It needs to feel like a site that's finished, because when you click in here and you've got the right hover and whatnot, we're getting into now broccoli chicken Devon, and this is great. This looks lovely. Like, the style is. I am curious about some of the sizes that you're using down here. So instead of that, I want to look at this. So this is label small. I just want to see a little bit more about. So this is 12. 12 is getting a little small. I don't mind it on things like these. These little UI labels. But when you're getting into the this is like a little button. When you're getting into these areas, I'd like to see it probably like a 14. And there's probably so this is 12. Yeah, there's a regular underlined, regular bold underlined, small underlined. Yeah, there are options here. That could be useful to you. But by and large, I think that these could come up a bit. You've got this label bold here. That's at 14. So I think these could come up. As we look down here in ingredients and directions, I'm not quite sure why there's this quasi attention paid to the grid, but then it just kind of goes straight down the side. It seems like it'd be very easy to bring this directions up here. And then there was this idea that this should be visually driven. As the prompt over here talks about, featured search results, and display the information in a manner that encourages discovery via image display. So you've got you've got that. Like it definitely like here's the images. Okay, but when you get to this final page over here, I would think that you would have more than just the one image. Like, should it be like this image and two down the side, and there's interplay in your prototype where you can switch images? Is it one and then there's images below? There's got in short, I think there should be more than one image here. If I were to click on this, does it go full screen? The other piece of this is, in your prototype, how do I get back? How do I get back? This prototype moves in one direction only right now, and we need this prototype to, if I want to go back up to search and search for something else, I could. Now I don't want you to build out another search, okay? But what I do want to do is I want to be able to get back to the beginning, and that's typically where we come in and we link the logo and we pull it back to the original part of the prototype so that you can loop around in the prototype. You don't have to know the special keys to activate it. So this is like, I love the cleverness of the search display, but there's some pieces to this that I think you need to push on so that we can really show people this piece and this prototype and go, yeah, Abby knows how to do prototypes, because it's very clear to me that you followed the instructions. You've also leveraged the components well. Now I just want to make sure that people get to see a finished product from you, in addition to Fresh Market. Like, I believe that you should be doing Fresh Market and leveling this up at the same time, so that you can include this on your LinkedIn. You can include it as a second prototype to show people, to confirm that you know how to do prototypes. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Katie, I've got some more feedback coming for you, because I'm going to be going through line by line and reading that case study as you currently have it. But you're well on your way. Abby, great push forward on the existing components exercise. And I want to see that prototype I want to see you be able to loop around in the prototype. So we've got to add that, and then we need to add some more detail to the actual pages that are there to show what a prototype really looks like when it's finished. Right now, it's got some clever parts to it, but it definitely isn't finished. And then finally, on your Fresh Market project, you're doing a good job pushing in the right direction, but that detail could be parsed out a bit more on the observational research, so that you could make more sense of it rather than looking at it like it's a giant paragraph. But back be known, I just like the fact that you've got research underway. So without further ado, folks, that's going to do it for me, and I'll see many of you later today. I hope to see all of you tonight for office hours, after hours, and then back here tomorrow for the Feedback Loop. So without further ado, Chris Courtney here. Take care.